Okay, today we are starting with Unit 2, and the first topic that we are going to cover is identity and access management. Okay, we will go through identity and access management concepts. So basically, this lecture will, aim to, you know, provide knowledge of the existing identity and access control management systems. Okay, so we start now. Okay, so the first is, okay, so since we will be discussing about the identity and access management system, so before directly jumping into that particular concept, first let us go through access management. Okay, let us understand what access management is. Okay, so as given in the first paragraph here, in the fields of physical security and information security, access control is the selective restriction of access to a place or other resource, while access management describes the process. Okay, so access control means what? You are restricting the access, you are controlling the access to a particular resource or a place. Okay, you are prohibiting. Fine, you are controlling it, so you are applying some restrictions to the access. Okay, and the process, okay, to implement access control is called access management. So the act of accessing may mean consuming, entering, or using permission to access a resource is called authorization. Okay, now anyways, we will first try to understand what actually access management is. Okay, so it is a process of identifying, tracking, controlling, and managing authorized or specified users' access to a given system, application, or an IT instance. Okay, so basically it is used to grant access to valid users and thereby prohibiting invalid users. Okay, access management includes all the policies, processes, methodologies, and tools to maintain access privileges within an IT environment. So now, what are access privileges? Now you see here we are talking about IT environment, but I leave IT environment inside. Let us talk about our normal university environment. Okay, let us talk about the academics only. So here, if you see, I'm actually trying to explain what privilege is. Okay, so here since we're talking about, restricting access privileges. So what is access privilege? You see, talking about the academics section here in academics, from if you start from the root level, we have the dean of studies. Yes, then coming downwards, we have dean of science, we have dean of engineering, and so on. Again, when you come one step downwards, what do we have? First there is the dean of studies, then it is the dean of studies. Under dean of studies there is another level having, where we have dean of different what you say, branches. Like there is the dean of engineering, there is the dean of science, there is the dean of pharmacy, etc. Fine. Then again, under dean of engineering, what do we have? We have different HODs. Okay, we have HODs under, okay, depending on, HODs means head of department. So we have different departments, and accordingly we have heads for each of those departments. Okay, then under those heads we have faculties. Yes, and then we have students. So if you see, it is in hierarchy. Okay, starting from the root to the last level, it is one kind of a hierarchy. Okay, so now starting from the last level, the lower level, which comprises of students. Okay, now if I tell about privileges of students, so what would it mean? See, just as students can easily, just imagine you have a classroom where you can go and sit. Yes, you can attend classes there, you can do everything inside your classroom. Okay, you have full access to your classroom. But, and also to enter your classroom you don't need anybody's permission, provided the teacher is not in the classroom. Okay, if the teacher is not in the classroom, then you don't have to take anybody's permission. That is your classroom, you are an authorized user of that classroom. Fine. Authorized users means you have full permission to access the classroom. Okay, the classroom is your resource. Okay, the classroom, then the tables, chairs, everything inside the classroom are your resources, and you are, you are granted permission to access all resource of the classroom. So you are an authorized user of the classroom, so you need not have any permission to enter your classroom or use its resources. But if you want to enter the staff room, okay, the staff room is where the faculty sit. Okay, that is the room, okay, where we all sit, all the faculty sit and do their work. Now if you are to enter the staff room, okay, so what do you have to do? You have to take permission before entering. Only if you are granted permission you can enter. Fine. Or say you want to go to the head of the department with some issue, with some application or whatever, okay, even then you only if you are granted permission to enter, you can enter the room. Otherwise you don't have access to it, you cannot enter it, you cannot use the resources of that room, of course. And also of the staff room, you cannot simply enter the staff room and without anybody's permission you can, access somebody's system, or you can sit on somebody's table chair, you just open without anybody's permission, you open the wardrobe and take out the projectors, etc. So to access the resources of the staff room you need permission. Fine. So yate ki bujisa je for every level of users, okay, for every level of users there will be some access controls, okay, there will be some privileges. Thik ase? Now talking about, we move to one step upwards, okay, we move one step upwards, then we have the faculties. Now faculties, talking about the responsibilities or privileges of faculties, okay, we have somewhat flexible, privileges than yours, okay. Yours is much limited. Thik ase? You have more restricted access, more restricted privileges as compared to us. Ours are a bit flexible. Why? Because we don't need anybody's permission to access the classroom that you are in. Also we don't need permission to access the staff room or the resources inside the staff room. Buji paisa? So if you see, we have, our access is quite flexible. Fine. Now again, if we move one step upwards, then we have the HODs. Okay, so talking about the HODs, again compared to us, compared to the faculties or the students, their access is again a bit more flexible compared to us. Why? Because the head can do everything. The head can now do his activities, perform his work, use his resources, okay, he is, authorized. At the same time, he can also come into the staff room and do whatever he wants to. He need not have the permission. Okay, of course, out of courtesy, we are human beings, out of courtesy we might ask someone, okay, that can I sit here, can I sit there, so that is out of courtesy, that is called etiquettes. But leave that aside. If you talk about privileges, the HOD has full privilege. He can, aram se he can come inside the staff room, he can, sit on my chair in my absence. I cannot question him that with whose permission have you taken my seat. Fine. So you understand. So the head will have a more flexier, uh, what to say, privilege, okay, or access to the resources as compared to the faculties and students. So as you can see, as you move from the low level to upwards, the, the privileges, okay, becomes quite flexible. Okay. So when talking about the dean of studies, so the dean of studies is the root. He or she will have full access to everything. Okay, he or she need not take anybody's permission to do anything. Fine. So this is what happens in an IT environment also. So there will be different employees, there will be different workers in the IT environment. Okay, they will have different positions, they will have different rankings, and based on their rankings they will have different, privileges over resources. Fine. So that is what, privilege is all about. Okay, accessing, access privilege is all about. Okay, that is how, access privileges are maintained within an IT environment. So again, coming back, access management is used in conjunction with identity management. So what is identity management? The identity management creates provisions and controls different users, roles, groups, and policies. Whereas access management ensures that these rules and policies are followed. Okay, so who implements access management? Identity management. Okay, identity management will create the rules, okay, the norms, the rules that are to be followed, the different it will control different users based on their rules, responsibilities, policies. Fine. So they are the creators of all the policies, and access management will ensure that all the users abide by these rules and policies. Fine. Next, any access control policy will specify access rights and decide whether requests made by principals should be allowed or rejected. Okay, so basically requests are made by three types of principals. Okay, so what the user can make a request for a resource. Fine, user like a human worker of a company. Then we have objects such as resource or data. We call any resource or data an object. Then we have subject, a process, a user employs. Okay, a process might also want to access some resource. Okay, so these are the principals who will request for resources. Okay, and based on the access control policies, the request will either be granted or it will be rejected. Fine. So as I said, when creating your enterprise information security policy and your cyber security controls checklist, you will have to determine your company's philosophy on such matters by answering questions like who in your company has access to your business data. Okay, how do you ensure that those who attempt to enter the approval to do so, how do you determine who you grant or deny access to? Okay, so access control or access management looks upon all these matters. So, to summarize the goal of access, management, the goal of access control is to minimize the risk of unauthorized access to physical and logical systems. Access control is a fundamental component of security compliance programs that ensures security technology and access control policies are in place to protect confidential information such as customer data. Okay, so basically the access management based application or system stores different user roles and their profiles, and process user requests based on the data profile or roles. So that is all about access management. Okay, so now coming to identity and access management. Just hold on. Okay, so identity and access management is a collective term, okay, that covers products, processes, and policies used to manage user identities and regulate user access within an organization. Okay, now access and user are the two vital IAM concepts. Okay, I will refer to identity and access management as IAM. So here we have two vital concepts, access and user. Okay, access refers to the actions permitted to be done by a user, such as viewing, creating, or changing a file. And users are the employees, partners, suppliers, contractors, or customers. Okay, and furthermore, the employees can be segmented based on their roles. Okay. Now we will see how actually the IAM works. So basically the IAM system is designed to perform three tasks, okay, three basic tasks: identify, authenticate, and authorize. Fine. So meaning only the right person should have access to computers, hardware, software applications, any IT resource, or perform specific tasks. Okay. Now we will look into some core IAM components. Okay, so one very important identity and access management component is the database, okay, which contains users identities and access privileges. Fine. Then we have some tools. Okay, we have some tools which are used for creating, monitoring, modifying and deleting access privileges. And finally we have a system for auditing, login and access history. Fine. So while with the entry of new users or the changing of roles of existing users, the list of access privileges must be up to date all the time. Okay, so every time a new user comes in or every time a user leaves the organization, okay, so the roles and the responsibilities assigned to that user once he joins in, okay, and once he leaves, how to delete or how to free up that those roles from that particular user. So all these needs to be updated. Okay, so all these access privileges list needs to be updated all the time. Now IAM functions usually fall under the IT departments or sections that handle the cyber security and data management. Now we talk about a simple example of identity and access management. Okay, say when a user enters his login credentials, his identity would be checked against a database to verify if the entered credentials match the ones which are stored in the database. Okay, for example, when a say a contributor logs into a content management system, he is allowed to post his work. However, he is not allowed to make changes to other users work. Fine. Or say me as a a trainee, suppose a trainee or a mere employee of that organization, as okay, such as suppose I'm a developer. So for whichever, say I want to access some file or I want to make use of some company resource, for that I need to log on. Okay, I need to log on, I need to provide my credentials. So first it will be checked against a database. Okay, first they will check whether I'm an authenticated user or not. Okay, only if I'm an authenticated user or I'm an authorized user, I will be granted the permission to use the resources or access the files. Fine. So you know uh, so this is how through identity and access management, specific users in the organizations are allowed to access and handle information. Okay, and if there's no identity and access management, anyone, okay, anyone means any outsider could access confidential company files, okay, leading to possible data breaches. Fine. So in this aspect, IAM is very important to help companies meet the complex regulations that govern the data management. Okay, now we look at the service pack of identity and access management. So it basically provides these following services. Okay, the directory services, the identity lifecycle management services and access management services. So we start with the directory services first. So before directly jumping into this, let us understand what directory services are. Okay, see, directory service, you have heard about this term most often, or you might not have heard at all. Well, directory service is a, you can call it a shared information infrastructure or simply a database. Okay, it is one kind of a database, okay, which you know maps the name of network resources to their network addresses. That is, it is a database that stores users, passwords, company accounts and share that, sorry, yeah, computer accounts and share that information with other entities on the network. Okay, so basically this service is used for locating, managing, administering and organizing everyday items and network resources such as files, folders, printers, users, groups, devices and many other such objects. Okay, then to implement these directory services, we need a server. Yes, services are always, provided by servers. So a directory server is one which provides, these services. Okay, so one such directory server is the Active Directory. Okay, the Active Directory. তোমাকে Active Directory শুনিবা Microsoft Windows or নিজৰ Microsoft or নিজৰ Active Directory আছে. So what is that? So it is the most common, database system in use today. Okay, so it is a directory service implementation that provides all sorts of functionality like authentication, group management, user management, policy administration, and more. Okay, so now we look at the LDAP. Okay, the LDAP store. So what is this actually? You see, the LDAP identity store allows an LDAP directory to be used as a source of identity data. Most organizations rely on LDAP directory to store users, groups, roles, and responsibilities between those entities. Some of them only store users and groups, others only users, and so forth. The point is that each organization has its own structure, how data is organized on the server, and policies to govern all that. So let us just try to understand it simply. Okay, now we have discussed about Active Directory. So Active Directory is an implementation. It is one kind of a server. Okay, directory server. Okay, which implements the directory services. Okay, for authentication, group management, user management, policy administration, and many more. Fine. Now talking about LDAP, you see, LDAP also called the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Fine. The full form for LDAP is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. So it is that protocol which, enables, a communication. Okay, which enables a communication of an application with other directory services servers. Okay, so it is basically a way of speaking to the Active Directory. Okay, it is that protocol which will help the client to interact with the Active Directory server. Fine. Now let us see how we can authenticate using our credentials, okay, with the help of LDAP. Okay, with the help of Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Okay, so the first important component for, to use LDAP, okay, for working of LDAP is the LDAP server. Okay, so it is that place where we store our employee profile details, which includes username and password. Fine. And the second most important part is the LDAP client. So here, this is your server where your LDAP resides. Okay, so this is the your one LDAP component will be in here. Okay, so whenever you want to